Welcome to the Hire Yourself Podcast. My name is Pete Gilfell, and I'm here with my business partner, Nat Truitt. We're all about helping people become better business people or just better at anything. And today we have some great stuff. Good morning, Nat.
Good morning, Pete. I'm excited to hear what we've got.
Oh, well, I got to tell you, I'm pretty pumped up. I don't know if I told you this, but I've always really wanted to attend a Big Ten football game. Right?
Yeah.
And so I had the opportunity the other weekend to go to the Horseshoe.
And so tell me about the Horseshoe. Yeah,
the Horseshoe is the stadium for the Ohio State. I don't want to get in trouble, so I got to say the Ohio State. But so this is a stadium. It's a great stadium, but it holds 100,000 people.
Holy cow.
Yeah, right. And so I've been to stadiums that have held less than that, and it feels really crowded, and it's a pain. But I got to tell you, attending this Ohio State football game was an amazing experience.
They had it dialed in. They've done it before.
I got to tell you, yeah, just a few times, right? So you go, and first of all, no paper tickets. Right. So all tickets are now you use an app on your phone like Ticketmaster, stuff like that. So it's all electronic tickets. Right. So you go and they literally have gates everywhere around the stadium. So no line to get in. Mm-hmm. Literally, you walk up with your electronic ticket, you just put it against the scanner and you walk in. Right. So that bottleneck's gone. So then if you get in there and you want to get a little bit of food, no huge lines. Right. 5 minutes to get a hamburger or whatever it may be.
Do you use your phone to buy your food, or how's that work?
No, I did. They weren't that sophisticated, but it was fast, right? I'm all about fast. Yep. And then, like, if you had to go to the bathroom, I mean, literally, there weren't huge lines going all the way down. It was so every touch point. So then you get into the stadium, and it's like the bench style. It's not the seats; it's the benches. So. But that went really well. It was pretty good in terms of flow of getting in, sitting down. And then from the standpoint of the fans, I've been to some games like high school games and stuff like that where fans are yelling and, obnoxious. I've been to a Blackhawks game where people are hitting somebody with a shoe, right? So crazy fans. These fans were just excited. They weren't really bad fans. I was pretty impressed.
That's nice. Did you get your seat right on the end?
Of course I did. You know me well, right? You have to pay a little premium, but yeah, I'm always going to have my aisle seat there. But it was good. I guess it helps that the fans were happy because they were blowing out the other team. I think it was Maryland or something like that. But it was just a great experience how they've kind of dialed it in. And I think a little bit about that's what franchises do, right? They dial it in. They dial in the processes from a standpoint. So I thought that was a great experience.
Yeah, like dial in the process, but ultimately they're trying to make a great customer experience so people want to come back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so they had, I didn't know that this is how long I really haven't been to a college game. They actually sell alcohol at the game.
Oh, wow.
So you can buy beer and all that kind of stuff. And they had special stations where it's just really easy to get a beer and stuff like that. So I thought it was a great experience.
So does the tuition come with a few tickets, or is the tickets tickets extra?
It does not. No, it does not. Right. But it just the easy flow, and even the parking was I'll give it an A. So
that's
I
awesome.
have to go to another one.
Yeah.
So and there was like 99,500 people in the stadium, but it didn't feel that way. So very cool. All right, Nat. So today what I thought we would do is maybe we could go through some common questions that we get. So, and I'm going to have you take the lead and maybe you kind of field the question and then we'll just kind of dig into it. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah. I was actually just thinking about that. I've been getting a lot of guys lately or people lately that have been kind of, they're going through career transition and they're kind of, trying to plan, the next few months and all that. So they've been asking me, how long does this process really take, to find the right franchise? And then say I do find a franchise, and how long until I can get my doors open? So I think that's super important because, time is money. And, if you can compress that or if, at least you can kind of budget how long it's going to take. So what are your thoughts? How do you usually answer that question?
That's a two-part question. You gave me two parts there, right? So I think the first part is how long does it take to find the business partner? right? So many executives are exploring new jobs. They're looking at maybe buying an existing business and they're looking at franchising. So the question is, how long does it take to find the right franchise? And that really is dependent on you as the candidate and stuff like that. But generally speaking, when you do your due diligence, you're going to go through a series of steps to get enough information to be able to make an informed decision that that's the right business partner for you. We call that obviously the franchise investigation procedures, steps that you go through. And so you are literally going and learning about the business model. You may be reviewing the FDD, the franchise agreement. Certainly, you're doing validation calls with existing franchisees. And you are also going to go to what we call a confirmation day, where you're going to go out to the corporate headquarters and they're going to get to know you. You're going to get to know them. And so that process can take, 8 weeks, right? It can be longer for some people less, but you got to put a good kind of couple months worth of hard work in to find that right business partner.
How many hours per day or per week would you kind of tell somebody to budget?
Well, I think it's starting out, it's more, but it's a couple hours. It's a couple hours a day, right? Especially you start getting into validation, or you're reviewing the FDD, or you're going through a series of calls, like the territory discussion call, like outlining the territory or understanding how their marketing model works. So I would say a couple hours a day, and it really depends on how many franchise concepts you're investigating at once.
Yeah, I think if you're starting with 3 or 4, then you have like, a couple hours per brand per week, but then you start to narrow down, and then ultimately you'll have, 1 or 2. And then once you get to 1, you're still probably doing the 2 or 3 hours a day, but it's just, it's more focused.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from the standpoint is that it really kind of depends on you too. Like there's some people that it just takes them longer to find that right when they meet that person when they're dating. It may take them 2 years to decide that they want to get married. And others, it might be 6 months, right? For
Yeah.
me, I really had a hard time with that. But that's a whole other story. We won't talk about that. So it really kind of depends on the individual in terms of what they're doing. All right. So let's say that you go through the process and you find that perfect partner, and maybe it takes you a couple months to find that franchise, and you decide, okay, I'm going to do this. Then a common question is, well, how long does it take me to get open? So I
Mm-hmm.
think we take that and break that out, because when we talk about the difference between a service-based franchise and a facility-based franchise, it can be totally different in terms of the timing to get that business open from when you sign. Make sense?
Totally. Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk first about the service side of it. So I sign, right? And I got to make sure I can get my business entity set up, whatever I choose to do. I've got to get my bank accounts. I got to pick out some of my like an accountant. I've got to get the infrastructure set up for this thing, right? And I'm also starting to do, a lot of franchises do pre-training, like you do some work before you go to the headquarters. Did you do that when you invested in your franchise? Did they have like a pre-training?
Oh, that was in the old days, Pete. So there was no pre-train. I don't know if there was even computers back then. No, I'm
All
just
right,
kidding.
all right. I'm dating you a little bit, but
But yeah,
most of
but today it would make sense with the high speed and everyone's used to working from home. So there's a lot of pre-training.
a lot of pre-training, right? So you go through let's call it 3 weeks of pre-training, and then you would go to the corporate headquarters to training.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm sure you did that in the day.
Oh
You
yeah,
went
yeah.
to, yeah, you go to the corporate headquarters, usually a week, or it could be 2 weeks from that standpoint. So you're going to go through all that kind of stuff, and then while you're also getting and going through the training, you're hiring people, you're ordering your equipment. So generally, I would say anywhere from, once you sign, it can be 1 to 3 months from when you sign to when you open your doors for that first customer.
Yeah, you're talking for a service-based
Yeah,
franchise.
for a
Yeah.
service-based franchise.
So what would be some examples of service just to help people out?
Well, it could be something as simple as a painting
Mm-hmm.
franchise, or it could be a restoration business, right? Or it can be a estate sale franchise. In almost
Yeah.
every category, right? Where you're not, it's just easier to get up and running. So, if you take a look at it, if you start and it takes you a couple months to find the right partner, you can get open in 2 months. I mean, in a little over a quarter, you can, have your business and doing your first day of business.
Yeah, totally. A lot of times it could be truck-based or vehicle-based, just kind of that remote workforce. So you can get up and running and scaling pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. So let's talk now about the facility base, because that's a little bit more of a long pole in the tent, right? So
Yeah.
so you pick your partner. It takes you 2 months to do that, setting up your corporate entity. You're doing all your funding, all that kind of stuff. But now you have to do the site selection. And the well, easy for me to say, the site selection, that can take some time to find the right real estate, because that's not anything you want to compromise on, right? You don't want to compromise on where you're going to. So what do you see in terms of how long it takes somebody to find a good location?
That can take a little bit of time. So I would say maybe an average of 3 to 4 to 5 months, something like that. And then there's, it takes time to negotiate the lease and get all your T's crossed and your I's dotted.
Yeah, so I think best case scenario, because I mean, some people it can take them 8 months, some people
Yep.
it's 4 months, right? But I generally you just kind of figure 6 months is a good number to look at. So it takes me 6 months to get that location, get the lease signed, and then you may have some build out, or you do have some build out, right?
Exactly.
So if you're kind of looking at that, bottom line is that it could be times training and all that kind of stuff. It could be that you're not opening in for anywhere from 6 months to a year for when you sign that franchise agreement.
Yep. Yeah, and a lot of times with the location based or retail based, guys are looking to open up, two, one, two, three, five locations. So then, it's kind of a different animal that you have to be prepared to tackle.
Yeah, and do you see most people open up multiple locations at the same time, or is it sequential? I open up one, I wait 9 months, I open up my second one. What do you see?
To me, I seems like most guys kind of like to get that first location up and cash flow positive before they open up their second location, and then just keep on going. But you're always kind of in that hunting for that next location, negotiating that next, you're because you have the lead time. So it's nice because that as a franchise owner, that can become a lot of what you're doing is kind of forward thinking and looking for bird dogging those next locations and leases and all that.
Yeah. So, bottom line is that to find the right partner and get the right business open, it just takes time, right? So it's going to take you a couple months to find the right partner. And depending on if it's service or it's facility-based concept, it could be 1 to 12 months from when you sign to become a operating business. So, all right. So hopefully that helps. What's the next question?
So the other thing I've been getting a lot of questions about is like, how much money does it take to start a franchise? Because I think people, you hear, you hear both sides, you can get started for not too much, or you hear the kind of the horror stories of, oh my gosh, it costs a whole bunch of money. So people are really like to narrow down, like, how much does it cost to start a franchise?
Yeah, so let's take that on. So first, as we take a look at investing in a franchise, there are two basic business models. So there are service-based franchises that go to people's homes or businesses, right? And they provide a product service. So they can come to my home and wash my windows. They can come to my business and wash my windows. And then there are facility-based franchise concepts. So think of like the strip mall down the street, where you can get a haircut and get a sub sandwich, get a massage, take a Pilates class, right? So service and facility. And we know that there are two basic numbers you need to know when you're looking at investing in a franchise, right? So number one is liquid capital. And we both know that when we talk about franchising, liquid capital is very loosely defined, right? It could be cash, stocks, bonds, right? It could be equity in your home you tap. It could be retirement dollars instead of investing in stocks and bonds, is investing in your business. So liquid capital is the first number from that standpoint. And the second number is total investment. Everything it would take to get that business up and running from that standpoint. So from paying the franchise fee to attending training, building out the facility, or leasing equipment, and certainly working capital, cash to carry the business to break even, right? So those are the parameters. So let's talk a little bit about service-based franchises. What do you see generally from a standpoint of liquid capital requirement? What's the minimum you need to get into kind of a service-based franchise from a liquid capital, non-borrowed dollars?
I think typically, like if you had to average out what the franchisors will, kind of have as a minimum requirement, I would say right around 75K would be liquid. That kind of helps you cover, some of the franchise fees and startup costs.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you see from a standpoint of total investment? So all in, kind of minimum to get into a service-based franchise. What do you see in terms of kind of the total investment, a minimum total investment to get into a service-based business?
I think it would definitely. I'm always kind of what would be the right word? Not cautious, I guess. So I always tell people, it's best to have or just know that's going to take twice as long and cost twice as much to get started. So, I mean, a lot of times you'll hear like 100,000 or 175,000 total investment, but you just need to be prepared to be properly capitalized in order to be successful.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So it's something greater than 100,000, right? So
Yeah.
total investment will be something greater than 100,000. It really depends on I guess, the type of equipment, number of territories, all that kind of stuff, right? And to your point, that you always have to expect it's going to take more time and it's going to take more capital than you think. So you always want to make sure you're well capitalized and prepare for maybe a little larger investment. Fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about facility-based franchise concepts. Now we're building out that facility, right? So we've got that construction and stuff like that. So certainly the liquid capital number jumps up. What do you see in terms of the liquid capital for a facility-based franchise?
I'm not totally sure how you want to answer that question, Pete.
All right. Well, I was thinking in my mind that it's kind of a minimum of $100,000 liquid capital to get into a facility-based franchise concept, and then because it's just because of the build out, and then the total investment, because we are building that facility out, tends to be a larger investment. So generally, what we see, something over 200,000, it could be 250,000, it could be 450,000. It depends on the build out size of the location, all that kind of stuff. So,
well, I think the great thing about franchising is there's a lot of support and protection for people looking to invest or buy a franchise. So, every franchise has to file an FDD, which is that franchise disclosure document. And in there is the item 7, which will have usually about 30 line items kind of dictating the startup cost of any given, of their brand. So I think that's super helpful. I mean, and that's why we kind of work with our guys to help them use those public tools to kind of make a pro forma and figure out what the investment's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's their job to kind of do the due diligence on the investment level, but you generally see that it's going to be, and the difference, like if for example, it's a facility-based concept and the total investment is 300,000, you have to come with $100,000 liquid capital. You could finance the balance, right? That 200,000. Right. Yeah, many different options there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good. I've been on some webinars lately. There's been a lot of good activity with funding, whether it's SBA or what have you. It seems like they're very, the lenders are wanting to lend money. It's not super hard to get financing right now.
Yeah, I think the lenders, they've got money that they want to put it into play from that standpoint. I think the SBA is getting a little more difficult, right? There's money there, but it's just more difficult. It's taking a little bit more time. I think if you've got a lot of resources, you may not qualify for an SBA loan, but certainly as we take a look at an economy, there's a lot of capital out there that wants to be put in play with businesses. So that's great news.
That's about all I've got today, Pete.
That's all you got? All right. Well, two great questions. Thank you for bringing them to the table from that standpoint. And I got to get, I'm ready for the next game day. I got to go to another football game.
Yeah, that's. I'm trying to think, who are they playing in a couple of weeks?
Well, I think the big games is they've got Michigan State, they got Michigan, they got Penn State. So they've got a hard schedule to round out the season.
Yeah, it's exciting times, Pete.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Thank you so much. Have a great day.